Okay, what did I want to talk about today? I prefer to freestyle because I realize that topics like this need to be done on inspiration rather than just putting it out there to create more content. When tackling topics like this, we should pay respect for the role that inspiration plays. Many intelligent people would say, this guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about, or he makes some good points. But I'm disappointed that he's talking about Bible and religion when we all know that it is some made-up stuff to control the population. I'm not here to convince you on religion, but to decode the Bible to you in a way that you'll realize the codes embedded in it. This understanding can be useful to you whether you're using it to augment your religious or secular reflections. I have friends who are religious, and I also have friends who are atheists. But the understanding I share on this channel can be interesting to the religious, the atheist, the agnostic, or any other curious person. Personally, I'm at a point where it's not even about belief anymore, but about knowing. Because I've found these allegories to have deep expression in my particular life experience. The understandings I share here isn't merely head knowledge from a book or schools of theology, but experiential knowledge in that the mere words and stories have come alive in my understanding. You wouldn't be listening to this if you thought the Bible is complete trash. Although I recognize that some people are naturally curious, and I will do my best to satisfy your curiosity with the content I share on this channel. For instance, when you study the Bible and you read about Abraham or Jesus, most people think about a guy that lived thousands of years ago, and the logical argument between people who believe and people who do not believe is, did this guy even exist, or is he just some made-up or mythological figure? But the point I'm making on this channel is that it doesn't necessarily matter if he did or did not exist in the flesh, but that these figures or archetypes are referring to aspects of your own consciousness. You don't come to the theater to watch a movie and then get distracted about whether it is a true life story or not. You just enjoy the movie, however fictional or real it is, and you can still gain some value from the movie. Ultimately, these figures and archetypes that the Bible employs in its allegories can enlighten us to the potential internal conflict that we have within our consciousness and the collective universal consciousness. Because these stories have been told for centuries in different forms, and sometimes with slightly different characters, cutting across different faiths and spiritual orientations. When you say something is spiritual, you're saying that it transcends the normal dimensions of our understanding. Growing up, I sat at the feet of my wise, sage-like uncle who would tell me stories. The stories had entertainment value, and that was what held my attention. However, I found out the allegorical nature and deeper meaning of these stories decades after my uncle had passed on. In those moments in my life when those stories came alive, it was as if my uncle was speaking to me in spirit. These are similar to the nature of spiritual documents. The stories themselves are just stories. They may have entertainment effects, but these stories held deeper meaning that were applicable to life and not necessarily literally. What I have just illustrated is a layman's definition of an allegory. At least in the context I use it to describe the codes in the Bible. The interesting thing about allegories is this. My uncle never told me, this is what this story means, or this is the deeper meaning of the story and the moral of it. He just planted the seed and left it at that. Mark 4:30-34, King James Version. And he said, whereunto shall we liken the kingdom of God? Or with what comparison shall we compare it? It is like a grain of mustard seed, which when it is sown in the earth, is less than all the seeds that be in the earth. But when it is sown, it groweth up, and becometh greater than all herbs, and shooteth out great branches, so that the fowls of the air may lodge under the shadow of it. And with many such parables spake he the word unto them, as they were able to hear it. But without a parable spake he not unto them. And when they were alone, he expounded all things to his disciples. I wish my sage-like uncle were alive. I would run to him and say, so this is what that story was saying. But when I imagine doing that, I have a mental picture of him smiling with his eyes closed, as he used to do. Finally, revelation! So, what's the name?
I'm Eve.
Wow, mother of creation, right?
Yeah, you're right. That's me.
You're cute.
Thank you.
Adam, I'm here. And Eve. Whoops. How do you like her, Adam? Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Okay, next time we'll talk about the allegory of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden.